Monkey King.
Hello. Mask off. How's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are doing good. Where I am, it is incredibly hot. It is so hot right now. But I still got my lights. I still got my stream. And I have a job to do because I am running a D&D session on Saturday. Today is Wednesday, which means that I have to put something together. Usually I give myself about an hour to prep, but I have some ideas. I have some ideas for a twist. I have some ideas for a world. And I have some ideas for something that's supposed to be a one-shot becoming a multi campaign that is disjointed and put together. So in order to do that, I gotta build some stuff. Now, if you're new here, I build D&D content, that is D&D sessions, one-shots, campaigns, characters, and I show the process. I show the process so that you can learn how to do it too, learn how I do it, and go along with me. And the idea is that people in the chat can just ask questions. Usually when we're building new things, like a new one-shot from scratch, we'll spin a wheel and we'll see what we get, or the chat will say, hey, why don't you add in this? Why don't you add in this? And then we'll do it just to show that the group can create things together and really bring these ideas to life. But because today I have something in mind already, we're just going to go through the process and I'm going to show you how I go about building something that is multi-layered, how we put in a twist, how we can do this for our people. So let's get going. This is what I use. It is Mural. For those of you that haven't seen it before, this is my own template that I have created for how I like to run my D&D sessions. Over here, some of the other one-shots and things that we've done. Let's break down what we did last session. Where are we at? Is it this one? Oh, I don't think last session is actually in here. Maybe we shouldn't run down what we did last session because I don't want to spoil anything else I got in here. Okay, let's do it this way. So this is what I do. I have all of these different sections. You can ignore these for now. They're supposed to say empty. But I have all of these different sections. Within these different sections, it's the chapters of what's happening. So you have your start off in a tavern, and then you get a messenger comes in and says, is anyone willing to help? And then you have to go and find somebody and so on. And that's what you do. You break it down by those titles. The reason I do it vertically like this is because when I'm on my iPad and I'm DMing, I just read it like a book. I can read everything I need to like a book. In some of these other ones you might see over here, there are little pink sections. Those are to be read. So like if it's a monologue for a villain and I need to make sure that I don't forget to mention the trinket of Bossamino and so that they can bring it up later, and I need to make sure I remember that piece. I do it word for word to make sure that piece is said, because otherwise you bring something up and you're like, you never said that, and that's never good. Then I have my little notes, just little notes and random ideas. We throw them together and all these different things. Now these are all one-shots. This is all one-shot. This is how I do my one-shots. What we are going to do is we are going to put several of these together. Ba-bam. So there's one shot. There's now an episode 2. There's now an episode 3. And so on and so forth. So the idea that I have... okay. First things first, shout out to Good Game in Banbury. It's a place that lets you play board games, things of that nature. If you're in England, if you're in Banbury, go to that place. Mark, he's fantastic. He runs a session every Friday, and basically it is the players are part of something, and they get to hi Brooke. They get to like jump back and forth from like different things, and it's a way of getting to play your one character over multiple one shots, and that's as far as I know. I don't actually know if he's tying it to anything. I've done a one shot for him and I didn't tell him any backstory. He didn't give me any feedback, so I think it's really just a way of come along on a Friday, there's always going to be a one shot for you. That being said, I had this idea of what if you are a group of people like the Power Rangers, and you're sent through a portal to go help out somebody. And then you come back through the portal, back to the headquarters, and then you go through a different portal to help somebody. And what if those portals are on different realities, different planes of existence, different times? And so you're just like hopping in and out, but you're always the same person. And you're always the Power Rangers. You always have a goal. You always have a task. And so that's the idea of what I'm going to do. Now, I also had an idea that I said to my wife, which I shouldn't have because she's playing in the game, so she kind of knows what's coming, is I love the idea of a character who is out of their depth, right? Like a Frodo Baggins. He's just a simple hobbit with a big task to do, right? Or Miles Morales, Peter Parker, bit by a spider. You're just a school kid. You're just a college kid. And now you have to save your city. Like, I love those ideas. And I think that D&D tries to replicate those. And it doesn't always work because everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm a fighter with double attack and blah, blah, blah. So I've done a little bit of misdirection. And I recommend you do this, too, with my players, which is I told them, like, hey, I'm going to make a slice of life one shot. And it's much more about social interaction and different things than it is combat. So make a slice of life character around a job, a cook, a messenger, a tax accountant. It doesn't really matter. And so that's what they're doing, is they're making all of these level 1 characters that are not at all combat, whatever. I even told them, like, hey, you don't need to do weapons. Don't even worry about it. But if you want to, like, feel free to grab a club and it's a rolling pin, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, if you have to fill in that box, go for it. And of course, shenanigans are about to ensue. Like, this is going to have combat in it. And one of my players actually said, if you weren't running this, I wouldn't do this kind of session because I like combat and I don't like the role play aspects of things. But the role play comes out in a lot of the sessions that I do. And they've started to spread their wings. They're starting to do really good. And so that made me feel good as a DM to know that I'm helping somebody explore that avenue of role play. So they're going to get a surprise because there is going to be combat. There's going to be a lot of combat. But we have 6 of us in our group, and we're all in different states. Some of us are in different countries, which means we've played at like 2 a.m. someone's time till 7 a.m. someone's time, at midday someone's time, and someone else. And we're all just trying to... The D&D scheduling demon is a strong one. So what I'm thinking is, what if I set up a world where these characters, your cooks, your tax accountants, your messengers, get given a power to go through these portals. And when you have that power, great power comes great responsibility. You are now a protector of the void or something. I haven't come up with a name for it. I'll do it with you guys. And that means that you are going to get sent on missions. And you're going to have to go help people. And sometimes that might be full-on combat. Sometimes that might be more social. Sometimes that might be a escort mission, protect. And like, you don't know what it's going to be. And the idea is that my friend group, when you can join a session, when you can't join a session, it's just a case that your portal didn't open and you weren't called for. And also, every session can be different. And every session can be run by a different DM. You know, a player can be like, hey, I'm going to sit out and I'm actually going to DM the next one. And no one has to worry about creating a brand new character. You just use the same character. The only setup is that you were thrown through the portal and now you're here. So I thought that would be cool because we have 3 or 4 DMs in our group that are like itching to do stuff. And this is a really basic setup that everyone's going to be able to do. So that's the thought. Now let's get into some of the twists that I have. So the idea, as I said, is that somewhere around here, you know, episode 1, you learn about your powers. Okay. So in here you have this rift ability. You can travel through time and space to help people, right? Another thing that I'm going to do is somewhere about here is you're going to learn the rules, right? And the rules are going to be that not everyone can rift. And an additional rule, which is use it or lose it. So imagine you are I'll say cook. You're a cook. And you start seeing this rift open up. And you're like, what is that? And it sucks you in, or you go into it willingly, or something happens, right? And you end up on this like plane of existence, and you're with a king of a foreign land, or in space on a ship, something's happening, whatever it may be. And you're like, this is a lot. I don't want to do this anymore. And someone comes to you and says, hey, you've been protected. You've been chosen as a protector of the void. You've got this special power not everyone has. You have the ability to go around this existence helping people, right? And you can just say no. You can say, no, you know what? I don't want to do that. Well, if you do that, those voids stop appearing for you, and they just fade away. And that's it. You can say no. You just lose that ability, and you're no longer a protector of the void. It just fades away. But if you say yes and you answer the call and you get pulled into the voids over and over and over and you help people, whatever, then that's what you are. You're a protector of the void. This sets up two really fun things. One, my players can find other protectors of the void, right? They can start finding people that are suddenly getting their powers, and it's like, oh, you're a protector of the void too, and they can explain themselves. They can become ambassadors, and they can say it's really scary work, and they can tell tales of their great adventures that they've had, and they can do all these different things. Or they might meet, a child that just gets sucked in somewhere, and he's like, this isn't my world. I don't know what happened. I was playing with my toys and I got pulled into whatever. And it's like, yeah, you're probably a little young to be a protector of the void. Let's take you back. And even as I'm saying that, my head is thinking of story ideas where maybe they take that child back to their world, but it's not a nice home life. There's a king that's keeping them locked up, and they realize like, oh, you know what? Maybe you would be safer and better with us. Now you've got a team mascot, right? But that's the idea. And you've got this, this wise wizard who's telling you how these rules work. He's been the governor of the Protectors of the Void for eons. He's wise, and he's kind, or maybe she's playful, and like, this is my job. This is what I do. I introduce people to their skills, and you're a protector of the void. And I know you don't think that you can do it, but you've been chosen, and so you can. And she's just caring, and she's nice, and you need that person to explain the rules to people so that this stuff can go on. But you also need that person to explain the rules to you so that you can keep things chronological, right? You need a home base to return to so that it can be like, this is what's happening in this overarching storyline. And so someone like starts attacking the sanctum where your teacher and your mentor lives, and you have to protect them. Someone kidnaps that person. You have to go back and get them, like all these different things that happen. And so that's the idea, is that they learn to use it or lose it. And we can have all these subplots where, protector kidnapped, right? We can have another story where our sanctum is attacked. We can have another story where we find other protectors. We find other people with those powers. All the things that I just said. But the twist that I have is that, and if you're from my group, now's your time to leave, is that leader of the void isn't good. They just believe in certain things. And what they believe is that if you are not willing to protect and go out on these missions and do all of these things, then you do not deserve the power of being able to travel to these voids. And so it's not actually use it or lose it. It is use it for me, or I will strip you of it. And so our players start to learn that this person that they trusted is actually ripping the gifts from people and taking it away from them because they don't deem them worthy, because they aren't doing these missions, which is gonna be a heartbreak, because we're gonna set this leader up to be fantastic. We're gonna make them playful, fun, enjoyable, helpful. They've spent sessions protecting them. They're rescuing them from kidnappers. They've spent sessions protecting the sanctum that they believed was what they were supposed to do. Like, we're gonna set this all up over time to where they realize that this person that they thought was their friend is got ulterior motives. And I think that that's going to be a really fun moment. That being said, we need to start our first session. So let's get into that. Let's get into this first session. So, couple things. As I said, I told my players this is going to be slice of life. You know, it's going to be not very combat heavy, not very whatever. And I did give this a name already. I called it the fair chance. That's what it's going to be called. And that is because of this. That is because of the idea that she's not this leader or this person that you looked up to is not giving people a fair chance. She's not even finding out if they're evil or if they're good or if they're whatever. It's just, are you going to do the bidding that I think is the best choice of action? And if the answer is no, stripped of power. But we need to do some misdirection. And I did promise them slice of life. And while one of my players is like, I don't like slice of life in roleplay, I want combat, blah, blah, blah. Some people like it. And I'm promising it. So you kind of have to deliver that on DM. You don't want to get someone's hopes up and then not deliver on it. So what we are going to do is we are going to make this a fair. So first things first, let's get all of our ideas just down. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm sorry that my spelling is going to be terrible throughout all of this. So it's a fair, right? Like a fair, we have to deliver your skills. You know, if you're that baker, you have to make a pie, right? You have to do certain things with money if you're a tax accountant, whatever. Like whatever they've made a character for and taken their time and effort in their day to make a character, and make sure that that character gets to deliver on what they're able to do, right? So we're going to make a fair where there's a competition or something where they have to be able to deliver their skills. I actually have a different idea, and that is... Oh, I got a little bit backwards. And that idea is that there's actually a creature that requires tribute. So an ancient creature requires tribute, and it's basically just whatever you can give, and it's a wholesome, loving creature of whatever it may be. A Totoro in the woods type situation. And so, once again, you can make pies, you can do deliveries, you can do gold, and I'm asking my players to send me their characters because I want to make sure that this thing fits in there. You know, if one of them is like, you know, my guy's a mathematician. It's like, oh, what are they going to give to this creature that requires tribute, right? Like, I got to figure that out and make sure that, as I said, make sure that the character that your players have taken time out of the day to create gets to stretch its legs. So, there's going to be a creature. There's also going to be a bad creature. And I'm thinking these are like giant Leviathan-sized creatures. And the idea is that they have to do something to give to this creature. This is where they're going to get all of their slice of life social. And it is possible. I mean, like if I was doing this for a group that I didn't really know, right? If I was doing this for some random people at my local game shop and whatever, I would make it that someone else is baking the pie, right? I would make it so that someone's putting together a floral arrangement for this creature to give it to them, and we need our players to go out and pick the flowers, right? Someone's trying to screw me on a deal for the ribbon. We need them to go do a persuasion on this person to sell ribbon at a discounted rate, right? Those are the kind of things that I would do if it wasn't for people that I know. But I would rather let their characters stretch their legs. I would rather make things very specific for them. And maybe I can't. Maybe it's not possible and we are going to have to go that route. But for right now, this is going to be the slice of life social. When they deliver it, we're going to have this bad creature come back, and they're going to have to do some sort of combat. And then we have to introduce the rules, right? We said that's what we got to do over here. We got to learn those rules. So we're doing that. Learn about the powers. Use it or lose it. Okay, so learn about the powers is also one that we have to do, and I have an idea for that as well, actually. I'll come back to this, I promise. So, introduce the rules. So they're gonna be introduced to our teacher leader character, right? They're gonna be introduced to that person, and then they're going to be told to use it or lose it situation. Okay, so learn about the powers. One of the things that I don't like doing is I don't like doing, hey, you walked into a tavern, right? Like everyone starts in a tavern. Like it's quite boring. What I like to do is I like to tell my players, hey, come up with how your character would X, right? So in my last campaign that I did, they all had to travel to a city in order to listen to a prophecy. Also, that is called TAM, Truth About Magic. I am trying to write it as a book. It should be up for sale at some point, so hopefully you guys can buy that someday. But that starts with having to go to a city in order to hear a prophecy. And the prophecy appointment is first thing in the morning. And so everybody has to sleep and then they have to wake up. And so I told all my players, tell me how your character would start their day. And what that meant was I got like a really military character who started their day with push-ups and blah, 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 and like all this other stuff. And then I had another character who woke up late because they were a student and they just never get out of bed. And then I had another character who was up at dawn because they like seeing the flowers open as the sun came out, right? And they were our druid. And so you get all these ways of like, oh, they're really pedantic. Oh, they're really in touch with this. You get all these ways of introducing a character without being like, hi, I'm Bill, level 4 fighter. Blah, blah, blah. So what I want to do with learning the powers is I am going to ask everyone to tell me their typical day, right? And then I am going to tell them in secret, you saw a portal tear rift. There. So they see a rift, a portal, a hole, a something, right? Something happens. So what'll happen is, to use the baker analogy again, my player is going to say, hey, I'm creating a baker. This is their typical day. They usually wake up and check on their sourdough starter and whatever else they do. And they're always up before dawn because everyone needs breakfast, and they have their little kid that always is sleeping in, but they're okay to let them sleep because once they wake up, they're a handful, and so they make sure to make their favorite sweet bread for their breakfast and blah, 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 right? That's their character. And then I'm going to tell them at the end of that, you see a rift or a portal or something open up, okay? And I'm going to tell them in secret. I'm going to say, that's what you saw, okay? And they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, cool, good to know. And I tell that to all of my players. So then they are going to start running from this. The session is going to start with them running from this bad creature, whatever it may be. And I'm going to have all my players roll dex saves, right? Whoever gets the lowest, they've already fallen. Whoever gets the highest, I'm going to start with them. I'm going to say, you are running through the woods. You hear a roar behind you. You have something, if we make this a dragon or something. I'm not going to make it a dragon, but let's say it's a dragon. You have fire burning behind you. Make me another dex save to avoid a branch that you're running through. They have to do it, right? They go through. Then they fall in a hole, right? Or maybe they make me a perception roll. And on your perception roll, you bump into another character, right? So two characters are now running together. Both of you make me dex saves, right? You fall into a hole. When you get into the hole, there are two other characters, the people that already failed their dex saves, in that hole. And you're all there in the hole. What's the last thing you remember? And that's when they're going to go over their typical day. And that's when they're all going to say, and I remember seeing a portal. It's like, yeah, me too. I saw a portal too. I saw a portal. What do you think that is? And whatever. And so now they've introduced themselves. but the session has started really exciting, and they're all tied together by this weird portal thing. And then we got to get them out of the hole and get them into learning all this stuff. So this will probably be something like you hear a noise. What do you do? And it'll be like, get out of there. Why are you here? Like, can't you see the Leviathans are fighting? And, you know, we'll call this Mothrama is unsettled. We'll figure a better name. But yeah, that's how we're going to do this. So now that you know what I'm going for, let's write that out so you can see what that looks like. So first things first, this is actually going to be my table rules. So we'll leave this empty because we always go over the house rules for that. Preferences, crits, things that I'm not okay with including, things that I am okay with including. And my list of what I'm not okay with including is very small. And typically I will dictate what is included at my table. I say, this is going to be included. If you're not okay with it, you shouldn't play this game. That's my preferred method of doing things. But let's get this started. So running, that's the opening. Let's also give ourselves some space. Whoops, dragged the wrong thing. I'm just going to put it all down here for now because I always mess this up regardless. Okay. So, running. Oh, we got caps lock on. Of course we do. Okay. Everybody make deck save. Cool. And that's it, right? I know what that means to me. I'm getting my ideas out. And that is one of the most important things you can do when you're doing, this is from a different session. This is one of the best things you can do when you're writing. I write music as well. And just saying words out loud really helps you write vocals. When it comes to writing, just write down the abstract thoughts that you have, and then we'll shore them up later. I'll put DCs to this deck save. Like, what is this DC for this deck save? How do I want to describe what they're running through? What's behind them? Like, all of this stuff. I think I want them in woods for that Totoro vibe. Yeah. This is it. That's my opening. That is all I will write for my opening, and then I will move on to the next thing. There you go. It's really, really quiet. I don't know. I'm nervous to like put music on. Let me see here. How's that? There we go. Cool. I'm going to turn my headphones down because it's quite loud to me. Okay. So next, in a hole. Characters. Characters introduce themselves. This is an interesting thing because it's what's the last thing you remember? DM or player prompt. Okay, so what that means is that if anybody says, what's the last thing you remember? As a DM, I will prompt them to say, tell them about your typical day. And that will carry on with what needs to be. If nobody asks that question, I will say a spark hits you and you remember the last thing before you were running through the woods. Tell them about your typical day, right? And I will push them into that idea of sharing what their typical day and what their the last thing they remember is. So they're all in the hole. They're all now sharing what their last thing they remember is, who they are. See, now as I'm saying it out loud, I'm going to do this, right? Names. So I don't want them to be like, I'm a cook, I'm a delivery person, I'm a finance bro. I don't know what the hell it is. I don't want that because we get back into that stereotypical introduce yourself character moment. So I'm going to let them introduce names. Hey, I'm Will, I'm blah, blah, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. And then I'll jump in. If somebody says, I don't know what's happening, I'm just a typical baker, right? I'll be like, all right, tell them about your typical day. Or I'll have someone else. And I'll just get them away from that stale way of introducing characters. But these are reminders from me to do both of those things. But when we were over here and I was explaining these three things, the whole typical day, the secret, right? That took time. That took a lot of time, 4 minutes to explain it to you, to explain where I was coming from, to whatever. Well, all that has been reduced to a bunch of bullet points. That's how easy it is to break down those stories. You don't need to make it super complicated. But, as I said, they now need to get out of that hole. So, let's give them someone that helps them out. There we go. This is certainly not going to be a dragon. This is going to be... Okay. I just had a thought, which is they are going to be putting together something, you know, doing their pies, doing their whatever, to an offering as a tribute, right? We have to explain why this person's going to be there. That's not a suspicious way. That's like, oh, I was just walking through where the dragon is burning everything. So we're going to make it world focused. We're going to make it world integrated, right? It's going to have an in-world reason why they're there that makes sense. And that reason is going to be they are responsible for prepping the altar, right? They are responsible for putting the gold dish, shining the stones, opening the gate so that people can give all their things. They are there to make sure that nothing has been destroyed since the last time they did the tribute. That is their pilgrimage. That is their task. That's who's going to find them. So the people hear a noise. We're basically setting this up as danger, but it's going to be a person. Roll for investigation perception. friendly face. Right? They meet somebody. I don't think that's how you spell altar. I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm writing. Okay. So they're the custodian of the altar, a tribute stand. They open the gates. They make sure that tributes can be given. I just had an idea. Okay. When I was in college, I used to do media and film. And we did a class called script writing. And one of the things that my professor told me is there are only 7 stories. And what it means is that you're breaking the story down to its very, very basics. You're saying, a MacGuffin. It's somebody chasing something they need to get and bring back, right? It is a loss. It is a revenge story. It's a whatever. And you just break it down to its very basics. But what it also means is that a lot of stories are basically the exact same, but that doesn't mean that they're copying, and it doesn't mean they're any less important, right? Like, you can say the story of a being that comes down from the heavens, does a bunch of miracles, dies, comes back to life, and then goes back to the heavens, right? And you might think, oh, Jesus Christ. Or E.T. the extraterrestrial, right? E.T. phone home is an alien. He comes down from the heavens. He is able to make things float. He's able to heal cuts. He's able to do all of these things that an alien can do. He dies. He comes back to life with the power of love from Elliot, and then he goes back to heaven. Goes back to space. Nobody is going to read E.T. and be like, you're just plagiarizing the Bible. It's just a different way of telling the same story, right? But it is cool to see how all of these stories have parallels and how you can like take a piece from here and twist it and do whatever. That being said, I just had a thought for the movie Moana, right? Where Latifi, I don't remember the name of the main character, but Moana's running from this evil burning spirit. And at the end of the movie, you find out the evil burning spirit is actually just the good goddess without her heart. And I think we're going to do the exact same thing. This creature up here that they are going to be running from, with, burning and flames and whatever, it's going to be the nature spirit. And once it's gotten its tributes and it's felt the love of the people and the appreciation of the people, when it sees love, it feels love, and it turns back into a creature that is probably going to be, turning the place for good. So I think that's what we're going to do. That does mean that we get a nice little twist. Same Moana twist, where the thing they think is evil is actually good. It also means that we can come to a point where they are fighting this thing, or they come face to face with this thing, and it is all hope is lost. They're level 1 tax accountants. Like, they're not gonna whatever, and then this creature turns. And so they get that fear, but we don't have to TPK our party. So okay, yeah, I think that that's a great idea. And so once again, we put our concepts over here. So oh, and this is great, right? So we just came up with this idea, but what this now means is that we can, throughout the session, we can have this as a running theme, right? This running theme that, oh my goodness, I need to lock this. That's a problem. Let's lock this. lock. Okay, now I can scroll easier. We can have this running theme that you have to show love to change someone sometimes, right? Or maybe even it's a through line that sometimes it's our job to take the first steps in love. What this means is that I can have a character say one of these two ideas in the market, right? Like maybe someone stiffed them on that ribbon that we're talking about, right? But they're still nice to them, and they're like, hey, sometimes you have to show love to change someone sometimes, right? And maybe when it gets to that point where they're face to face with that evil fire monster and they're a level 1 tax accountant, one of these sentences rings in their head and they give him the offering, right? Yeah, I think that's good. I also think that they all need a trinket. So they all need a trinket, an offering that they're bringing. I really got to map out my page so much better sometimes. I don't really know. Sorry, let me do some resizing for you guys. Oh, it's just because my monitor is so wide. That's the issue. Okay. Well, good to know. I'll try and keep it where it needs to be. I'm still new to streaming this kind of content. So they all need to bring an offering or trinket. We'll have that in their pocket as they travel, so that when one of them comes face to face with that creature, it's in their pocket so they can give it to them. So because we know the ending that we're working towards, we can start setting up all of these things that will become payoffs, right? What you want from your players is that moment of, oh, it's the blank, right? And you can only get that if something is happening at the end that they can reference from something that happened at the beginning. And it's difficult to do all these things at the beginning, you know, and then be like, and then we're going to do this twist. But it's really, really easy if you know the twist and just set things up so that people are ready for it at the end. And that's what we're doing. So, yeah, this through line of love, it's a good one. I mean, I'm a sucker for that stuff anyway, so we're good. Did I have another idea? Oh, I did have another idea, actually. Another idea I had was that let's get this. So the big fight is I really need to learn how to spell altar. No? Altar of power. Altar. That's where I'm messing up. Altar. Okay. Is a get to the altar. Okay. What that means is we're going to have level 1 characters that are not very strong. They're not made for combat. We're going to have a big fight at the end, though, obviously, because people want to be able to do that stuff. Their job is going to be to get to the altar, drop their stuff off, and stay safe while this creature is doing all this other stuff. Maybe we make it an escort where there are other villagers with stuff that needs to be dropped off, and so they have to distract, throw rocks, play music, get the attention of the beast. Like, they have to do things, and we can make the beast very slow. Oh, okay. So we make the beast very slow. And damaged, rotting, right? We make the bad beast the complete opposite of the good beast. because this will do two things for us. One, it'll show a big progression as that beast turns into something, right? But it will also allow us to throw them off the scent. Because if we tell them that the good beast is quick like the wind, or it is even a wind goddess or a wind beast, and it knows how to travel through the wind and do all these different things, right? Glorious wings and whatever it may be. If we describe the good beast as that, then they're never going to suspect the bad beast is the good beast, because how could it be? This thing's slow. This thing is gross. This thing is rotten. And so, once again, because we know the ending, we can start putting those breadcrumbs at the beginning to have this big twist of, oh, he was slow because he's rotting and he's falling apart and he hadn't reached his full power yet and all that other stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay. So we're still here at Helping Hand. There you go. Okay. This person's going to explain it's not safe unless you're given a tribute. Our players, what's a tribute, right? So that means our next section is the world of the beasts. So our friend explains the tribute system. Every year, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It doesn't really matter. Once again, we're just doing bullet points, getting it out of our mouths onto the paper so we can come back to it later. I will zoom in so you can actually see what I'm writing. So our friend explains the tribute system. Before that, though, we need to walk back to the village. Okay, so they're walking back to the village. Nah, let's make it a town. Let's make it bustling. Let's make sure that if somebody picks something obscure, that this town, at least, could even make it a city, this town has it available to them, right? Like, I need the feather of a blue rook. Like, yeah, we got that, right? And if we make it a tiny rundown village, they're probably not going to have that. And the more I say this, the more I want it to be a city. Okay. Walk by the city. Our friend explains it. We do need to write down some of these rules, though, so that we don't forget them. So some of this is me writing because I think it's just cool to get it out of there. So the world is a glorious place of nature and of change, like the seasons, right? We're foreshadowing our beast changing. When the season there you go. That's basically what it comes down to. Like those words in that order. Make sure that you can read it all. There you go. These words, right, in this order, say You gotta wake a sleeping giant to fight the other giant. You gotta wake one kaiju to go get the other kaiju. You gotta do something to bring about the new world of beauty and glory and whatever, right? But what it also says is that this season is this season, and you just have to awaken it from it. But it doesn't really say that unless you know. And so this is going to be one of those moments, hopefully, where they're able to say, oh, wait, they're the same thing. And it doesn't matter even if they guess it from this, right? They have to be able to guess it, because then when they can't guess it, you get those moments where it's like, oh, of course, like that's what you want. But because it's an of course, someone might guess it early. That's fine. It's totally fine. It doesn't change that they still have to get their tributes made. It doesn't change that they still have to fight the crazy version of this thing. Like, it doesn't change anything. So don't be too precious with your twists and try and hide them too deeply. A twist you can't figure out isn't a twist. It's a secret. Okay. I'm like wanting to do something. Give me a second here. Okay, that's good. There we go. Sorry. Leaving myself notes for when I have to edit this video. Okay. So now we get through this part. This is probably the part most people start with, you know. You're in a tavern in a city of gold and glass. Like, we get to do that bit. What do we want the city to be like? I actually... asked my players, what kind of world do you want to be from? Do you want steampunk? Do you want high fantasy? Do you want modern, isekai, whatever the heck it is, right? And they all chose high fantasy, which is your typical D&D world, and it I think it offers a lot of range, right? One of them asked me again, what should it be? What kind of world are we looking for? And I messaged them privately. And I said, hey, I'm actually thinking about maybe having one person in a different world. Like, do you want to be that person? And the truth is, I'm going to message that to everybody. Because the idea is that they're all different people from different worlds being pushed together with this protector of the void type stuff, right? And so it doesn't matter that one of them is from modern France and one of them's from historic feudal Japan and one of them's from a high fantasy world, and one of them's from the Underdark and one of them's from a floating castle in the sky, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You just make the most fun character you can think of, and we're going to put it into this world. And so I want my players to really enjoy making their characters. And so if someone is like, oh, I'm tired of making high fantasy, I wish we could do something, you know, in this kind of world or this kind of world, or I've always wanted to do this. Now's the time to do it. Let your players have fun. Let your players do whatever the hell they want, and you figured out how to match your story around it. Okay. So now, city. Describe festival. I don't think it should be like, we could do, you know, a festival of feeding, right? And we're feeding the beast that's there and all this other stuff, right? But I like the idea that it's not a festival, it's a time, right? It's like Laval, right? Oh man, it's Laval for the next 30 days. Everyone is putting together their crocheted blankets to give up as a tribute. Everyone, oh, I can't do this. It's Laval. It's really hard to. Everyone's so focused and everyone's so tired. Like, it's Laval. I like that more. I like that it is a. Do we like Laval? Let's try to figure out. Okay, this is actually good. If we make it a holiday, right, and it's Laval, this does a couple things for us. One, it gives us railroads and guidelines, and railroads are good. Like, fences are good because it allows people to stay on a story that you have prepared for them versus something that's not. And it's basically the difference between you go to a movie and they've got special effects and explosions and whatever and blah, blah, right? But if in the middle of the movie you could just go, you know what, let's go over here. And they're like, well, we don't have any pyro over there. We don't have a fight scene over there. We don't have an alien over there. We don't have anything over there. Like, we can put something together, but it's not going to be as good as what we've prepared, right? So that is the good thing. Now, that being said, if in that movie the city blows up, right? And you need to be a part of the explosion, that doesn't mean that you can't let your players go anywhere in the city. Like, I don't have to funnel you to this rooftop where you can see the explosion from the best vantage point. Like, you can see it from the ground. Seeing it from the ground's got to be terrifying. Seeing it from the top's got to be awe-inspiring. Seeing it as you're leaving makes you feel relief. Like, oh my God, I'm glad I wasn't in that. Like, I don't have to whatever, but if you're not at all by the city, if you're in a bunker somewhere, like, that's what I'm talking about, where railroads are good. So having Laval as a time of year and as a holiday allows us to set some fences, some railroads, some guidelines, which means, one, everybody can remind you what's going on. Everybody knows. I don't have to create a special NPC you have to bump into. Like, everybody's got it. Secondly, some things might be closed. Right? You've got that one player that's like, I want to go talk to all of the cats in the catarium, and they're just like messing up the session potentially. Catarium's closed. They're preparing their Laval gift. Sorry. Like, it just is, right? It gives us some nice guidelines, but it also means that later on, if I come up with something interesting for the catarium, catarium's open today. They did their Laval stuff yesterday. So yeah, I think making this a holiday is a good idea. What is the city like? So I want that Moana transformation, right? Of grossness, whatever, blah, blah, to blooming. So what if... what if the city is old and dull? Stone held together by... Let's try and zoom in for you guys. Stone held together by... the roots and... Right. So it's one of those things where it's like a stone wall and a vine grows up it, right? And then the stone wall dies and the vine dies with it. But they're holding each other up. That's what I'm thinking this city is like. And what that allows us to do is, at the end of our session, when the great nature beast comes back, all those vines are beautiful. This city is a beautiful city of running water and flowers and vines and beauty, and it really gives us a change. So I think that this is a good idea. I do also want So no flowing water, no whatever. We'll make this into like a Venice, right? When the water and everything comes back. But yeah, this is all we really need for our city, right? We've got the time of year, we've got the city likes. We're realizing that we can't spell describe. All important things are happening. And if you're wondering why I came up with Laval, because I've been on a kick for Leviathans recently. And I'm trying not to use the word Leviathan in this because I think I overarching like the idea of Leviathans creating the void. So we'll avoid this. But no, I think that's good. I think we are done with the city. Okay, a warm bed. So I'm going to have a character notice that they seem a little lost. Maybe out of place. Yeah. So our character comes in and basically says, "Your clothes look funny. You're not from around here, are you? Do you have a place to stay? You're welcome to stay." Blah blah blah. Right. Natural D&D party response is suspicious of somebody being nice to them. So this is where our character gets to say one of our sentences, and we can start laying the groundwork for what we're looking to build. So we need to shorten this down, though. These are very long sentences. There you go. Love changing people, and sometimes you need to take the first step. That's it. That is it. I'm doing this first step thing because I want our players to have some agency in taking that first step and being the one to, pull their trinket out and offer it to the scary beast that's about to kill them. And the idea that it is a first step and it's scary and whatever, and that kind of thing. So we're using this language. We're putting in all these mental triggers to get them to do it. And once again, if they don't do it, I'm not stalling. I do know what I was going to say, but I had a completely different thought. Once again, if they don't do it, something else happens, right? An NPC comes in and knocks them over as they're running from the Leviathan, and it falls out of their pocket. And we remind them, like, hey, you got to do this thing, blah, 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 right? Or one of the other players makes a distraction, and the Leviathan turns around and goes for them, and then they get a chance to put their thing on the altar. And once they're all on the altar, the thing changes anyway, right? Like, there are ways that we can do this where this moment doesn't even happen, and that's totally fine. Okay. So let's do the next one. So I'm really bad at making one shots purely because they always end up like way too fucking long. But it's okay. Our new friend explains that every person must give one thing that they have made. There you go. Based on who they are, right? So... And then tell an anecdote like, there you go. Last year, my nephew gave a poem, and they didn't even write the words, but they made the paper. So that way, if we have characters that can't do things, right, but they are able to facilitate other people doing things, still doing good, right? And the more I know about my players, the more I can build this stuff. I know one of my players is playing a delivery person, and they're playing a rogue, because they're being sneaky to like deliver stuff sneakily, but they may also be delivering stuff fast. And if that's the case, then maybe someone asks them for help, or it's like, hey, I need to get this across town quickly. Do you think that you can do it? So it might be like, I need to get this shield across town before it cools, because the fires are on this side of town, but the etching and everything and the machine that they need to do it is on the other side of town. Something silly, but this is where knowing your players and knowing their characters and sort of building the world around them really comes into play. This is through a friend. There you go. So as a DM, if my players are, you know, one of the hardest things is like you can't force people to role play. You can't force people to be strong. You can't force people to be intelligent, right? Like if you're not smart, if you're not a genius, right, and you roll for intelligence, I guess the example is usually persuasion, right? Like if you're not very persuasive as a person, but your character is very persuasive and you're playing a fantasy, right? You're playing wish fulfillment and you roll a nat 20. You shouldn't have to then come up with the words that are a nat 20 if that's just not your forte. So because there are blind spots between the character and the player, DM's got to help out. So everyone has to come up with a tribute. And if anybody is not able to think of how their skills could apply, me as the DM, I get to come in and say, well, what if you did this, right? But I wouldn't do that as a DM because that would be breaking the world, taking people out of the story. That would be above table talk. I'll do it as a character. I'll do it as this character that's offering them a room. I'll say, sweetie, you have the ability to do this. Why don't you go see if there's someone that wants to whatever, blah, blah. Like, so we keep it in world, in story, in line. Keep going. So that's the plan. That's it. This is it. Everybody makes their tribute. This is gonna be now here's the funny thing. My plan with this channel is that I create all of this stuff and then I'm just going to give it to you guys. So you guys can play this for yourselves. That being said, this one is going to be wild. I've already done creative tribute. Yeah, what did I do? Ooh. There you go. City of Supplies. I'm doing this purely because I want a different section. As the that's this is I'm trying to make it so that you guys have a framework for building a DM, building a session, because it's scary sometimes. Like, I'm not that creative. I can't come up with the dialogue. I can't come up with the characters. And I want to show you how easy it is to do this stuff. And this is maybe the worst thing I've ever written for that, because what's going to happen is my player is going to say, hey, I need to find 4 yellow potatoes for a cream mash that I'm making. However, they need to include 6 eggs from a bird that walks on 4 feet, right? I can't write that. I have to come up with it. I have to say, well, there is an aviary across town, right? That aviary didn't exist until they said they needed an aviary. So this is kind of the part where I'm just going to give them whatever they want, right? If they say that they need, hey, I need a dragon tooth in order to blah, 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 blah. Sure. Here's your dragon tooth, right? And that brings me to something else, right? So along these stories, right, we have the Protector, we have the Sanctum Attack, we have the Find the Protector, we have the Strip Top. This is where you learn, there you go. This overarching story, right? This one is where you learn that the person's not so great. One of the ways that you're going to find that out is that we're going to introduce an escaped, which is to say someone who your mentor tried to strip their powers, but they got away. And now they're hiding from your mentor, jumping from reality to whatever the heck it is, right? And I had this idea of, like, what if they were on a planet that is of, purple sand dunes, right? And it's very grainy purple sand, right? And then 4 sessions later, you're in a kitchen and you tell someone, like, hey, you see what seems to be purple sugar on the floor? And then they taste it and it's like, it tastes like sand. And if you make a rule, and that is to say, once again, because I know the ending, I can set things up at the beginning. If I make a rule that says you can't take anything between worlds, and you nobody has the ability to do this between world stuff except you guys, and you're the only ones that exist, then when they find someone who has gone between worlds with the purple sand and that they don't know about, someone is lying, and that plants those seeds of doubt. The reason I bring this up is that obviously there are some metagamers in here that if I did, as I said, give them whatever they want, if they need a bird with 4 legs to give an egg or whatever, or they need a dragon's tooth, they'd be like, oh, you know what? I need 40 pounds of sulfur for this thing and this mission, and I need all of the components for a wish spell. You got a diamond worth 500 gold? You can't take it with you. You can't go between worlds. And when you try to go between worlds, it burns up or disintegrates. And the truth is that that's our mentor destroying it, stealing it, whatever the heck it may be. But I just want to point that out because that idea of the purple sand and the sugar was an idea that I had. And I'm going to write myself a note there for that. But I just want to explain it because that's a fear. If you give your players anything you want, few bad eggs, few metagamers, few people that are just having fun, but they want to see how far they can push the DM, like, they can break a game. And so rules in place means that they can't. And they're level 1. So you're not going to be able to trick the century-old wizard person that knows the rules of void jumping. Okay. So as DM, I have to navigate the city, make up rolls that help. Make up rolls, stores, items that help. That's it. This whole section is improv of yes and that's it. Now, if this says 6, it does say 6. I feel like they all say 6. What's the point of me doing any of this? I can just copy the same one every single time. Okay. So now, whoa, I hit F11. Don't know what that does. Everything's still recording. Everything's still going. Okay. So now they have to make the trek to deliver the tributes, right? Anyone who didn't get Doodle. Okay, so this is when they're in the hole and they're all sharing their typical day, and then they all saw the rip in time and space and whatever the heck it was. If anyone didn't get to, because either it was going on too long, or they missed a cue, or the conversation just naturally didn't move towards it, and then our friend from the hole comes in and helps out. This is a time where they can start talking about it. We can have an NPC ask them, like, so how did you get here? And then say, tell them your typical day. It shouldn't get to this point, you know? It's a really late introduction for a character, but it's actually not bad to introduce characters late. Like, don't tell people what character you're building in your Discord chat before you even start the session, right? Like, don't tell them anything. And then when you're there, have your character talk. Have your character let it slip that they did this. Let them, like, oh, what's that? Because when they don't know anything, they have to ask questions. And 90% of roleplay is responding to questions. And if nobody asks a question, there's nothing to respond to. So I actually wouldn't mind if we got to here and someone had to tell their story. Okay. Let's have a bunker. So bunker of safety. Okay, so this is you're 100 feet away from the altar, but you're in a safe bunker, and there's a group of villagers, city folk, whatever there, and everyone's kind of being quiet, and they're whatever, and they're all holding their gifts that they've gotten, and then it's like, okay, group Group C, and Group C goes out there, cautious, looks around, goes and puts their stuff on the altar, right? And comes back. All right, Group D, and then our party. All right, Group F, and they go out there, and then there's a rumbling, and the bad guy stomps at the gate, so they can't back off, and they're the last people to do it. Right? They're new to the village. This is good. So, what we've just done is what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a boss fight, right? We need you separated from a bunch of people because we're not gonna have the boss fight in the middle of the city. And that's what we're doing. We're separating you. You're Group B, Group C, whatever, and you're going up one by one. We're also setting up the idea that you have to sneak to the altar, not fight, because we're not making fighting characters, and it's going to end up being a fight. And the last thing that we can do is we can make it so that their ability to complete this task is the success the city and the world needs, which is to say, it's now the... Where are we at? It's now the 29th day of Laval, and everybody's done it already. They do this every year. They do it in advance. They want to bring out the good nature spirit as soon as possible. And everybody's done it. Everybody except you guys, because you just arrived here. Which means in the bunker... what is it? I don't want to put slackers. It's another thing. People that got ADHD and didn't... Procrastinators. That's the word. Right? This is what it says. This is the last group. Once all of these tributes are in, everything goes back to normal. We're setting up that final boss fight, right? We're setting it up. All right, Group B, go. Okay, we're nearly there. Group G, go. All right, we're nearly there. Now the party, go. Just all you have to do is put this stuff on the altar and everything goes back to normal. Right? Stakes have now been set. And that's what we do. We'll explain what items they've made, the procrastinators and things like that. Cool. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder if I should make it so that you can bring things through. I know that I just explained that like it might break the game if we let people bring too much stuff through. We can have worldly shenanigans, right? Like a diamond in universe PR4B is not the same as a diamond in 78997, right? So we can play with some shenanigans that still feel in world but give us some real world. So I'm not gonna make it a rule that you can't bring things back. I am gonna make it a rule that only void protectors can travel, because then you know when you see the purple sand / sugar, this definitely was a void protector, because they're the only people that can do that. Okay, so let's control this and here. I just realized something. I like this idea of the Vol, and clearly it's like, clearly it has given us back, you know, being able to now do the 29-day countdown, being the last people to do it. Like, it's allowed us to do a lot of that stuff. But we did call this the fair chance. So we are going to make a fair of some sort. Yeah, we're going to make it yeah. So just like that nephew can't write a poem but can build paper, someone left out a stack of paper. Like, it's a fair. Come by, buy a stack of paper from me, write all the poems, songs, sonnets, love letters, math equations, whatever. Someone is really good at making quills. Someone's really good at making wands. Like, I'm really good at making rocking horses, but I'm not a good painter. If you paint my rocking horse, you can give it as a tribute, right? Like, people are just leaving out things that they're good at so that other people can add on to it. This also gives it, gives into our players later on when they want, you know, a dragon tooth or a bird with 4 legs, egg. Like, that bird will be sitting outside. Someone's got those eggs. Like, I raised those chickens back there. Like, that's how it works. Okay, final tribute. Player sneak. Beast appears. Gate breaks. So we can now once again set things up. Like, here's the deal. This gate breaks is a story beat, right? The beast appears, lands on the gate, crushes the gate. Our players can't leave. They're now stuck in this temple tribute area, whatever we've decided that we're going to do, with our boss, right? It's very video gamey. It's very tabletop gamey. It's very game. And it just is a moment that happens. It is of no consequence. It's just a thing that happens so that we can keep you here. That's it, right? And it sucks because you're trapped with this beast and you can't go anywhere, and blah, 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 right? But we can make it funny, which is up here. They're the custodian, the altar, tribute stand. They're opening up the gates, making sure the tribute to whatever. We can have him there you go. We can have him say, every year this beast breaks the gate. And every year I have to fix it over and over again. But this is the first year that we've gone all 29 days and it still hasn't broken the gate. This is going to be the first year that my gate survives. Cut to. Right. And now this stereotypical video game moment is funny. Like, You can even put somewhere in the distance you hear John, God damn it. Like, we can do that. Like, yeah, we can have that fun. So, gate breaks. There you go. The beast isn't like, there you go. Conserving a slow lumbering energy. So we're setting it up that it is that slow lumbering beast that we talked about. Somewhere up here. Our friend can explain. There you go. Characteristics of the good beast. So they can explain that it's fast and quick and whatever it is. And then that way we have the contrast down here. Yeah. And we make it slow. We make it so it's not just a relentless, I'm going first, top of the initiative, I got this thing. We make it so that when a player moves towards the altar, the beast moves towards the altar. Or when a player performs an action, or when... Here we go. Rules for this fight is if 2 or more players move towards the altar, beast moves towards altar. So they have to go one at a time, right? They could all, you know, with the power of love, offer up the tributes. But if they all try to just race the lumbering beast there, which is not going to be a very fun ending, the beast moves and cuts them off, right? But if they scatter and one of them moves and they start running distractions and they start doing whatever, there you go. Now you've got your way into it. So, here's the other thing. It is possible that one player could be like, I'm super fast, or I can teleport and I can just do it, you know, one by one, right? The question is, as DMs, do we want to allow that? Do we want one player to be able to have all of the fun, right? Because on one hand, it could be, I'm faster, just let me do it. And it's like, nobody wants you to do it. Or it could be, hey, you're really fast. Can you take mine for me? And it becomes a collaborative effort. So I don't think that we want to stop that and put in a rule that's like, every person must put their own piece on the altar. We'll let them decide what's the best way to get the items to the altar. That's the puzzle problem solving of it all. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay. Beast final form. Beast final form. I really like a manta ray. Like, it's cliche, it's typical, it's whatever. But I like the idea of a manta ray that is just covered in grass. And I might have even, I'll be honest with you, I might have even saw something for a terrible Chinese bait game that was some nature beast Leviathan manta ray. And I was like, that's a cool idea, because it is. So we're just going to put that in there. Foliage, which I can't spell. There you go. This is our ending. Everything is whatever. You know what would be kind of cool? Because if this is going to be like a long-standing campaign, which my players don't know yet, I like the idea of leveling, right? Where, you know, and you all go up a level and everyone's like, yay! But I also like the idea of, like, you touch an orb of godly divinity, you go up a level. Like, you did something that is specific to you and your character and what you chose and who you are and whatever the heck it is. Like, you go up a level and make those level ups matter to the character. So I'm wondering in this one, if we have any druids, what if the manta ray radiates energy and they get to go up a level? The truth is, I think at the end of this session, I'm going to have them go up multiple levels. Maybe not multiple. Maybe multiple. I genuinely don't think that it's fun playing D&D below level 6. I don't. I think that level 5, you get your feats and your extra attacks as a fighter and all these fun things. But the problem is that you can't really multi-class at level 5, because if you do any multi-classing, you lose a feat and you lose multi-attack and you lose so much, it's not worth it. But at level 6, you can do 5 levels in something, 1 level in another. Or you can do 3 levels in something and you get your Warlock Patron and blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like, you can start getting things. I think D&D is not enjoyable for creative people under 6. It gets very not fun to create characters, for me at least. And that's not to say people that enjoy D&D under level 6 aren't creative. It's just that creativity of creating a character is much less fun below level 6. So I'm always tempted to just bump my players up to level 6. However, with this session and what we're trying to accomplish, the goal is that you're the meek Frodo, fish out of water, whatever. So I don't think I will bump them up a ton, like to level 6 when they become void walkers and they get their first set of powers and whatever. I think what I will do is maybe bump them 1-2 levels. So if this one, the Leviathan will bump our druids. So our druids will go to level 2. And then at the end of it, our void protector, the person that we're going to come to think is good, bumps everyone up a level. Our druids will go to 3. Our regular people go to 1. And then we can start making sessions in the future where our rogue goes to a special patron of the night and shadows and mist, or they go to a pantheon of gods and Hermes is there and bestows upon them, and their level up becomes much. Oh, I love this idea. I love this idea that level ups become individual. Hell yeah. That's what we're doing. Done and done. Okay. Yeah. Have them sense home. Yeah. I think that'd be cool, right? Like you could smell the bread of your kitchen, but you can also hear the voice of your friend. You can smell the breeze of the ocean planet you came from. You see a darkness that only occurs in the underground where you're from. Like, but it's all happening at once. And so the idea is, oh, we all go back to our individual home. But the truth is that the void can take you anywhere at once. But I think that'd be cool. Bring them to the Temple Void. Meet our teacher. Explain the rules. And then this is so you didn't miss anything. I just did this part. So this is the idea, is that we are going to bring them to the Temple of the Void, meet our teacher, whoever the heck we've decided that is, explain the rules, offer them a chance to become void walkers, where they get to go between the voids and go into all these different places. Explaining the rules is that, if you lose it, if you don't use it, you don't have to if you don't want to, like, be kind, be all that nice stuff. And then when I have explained the idea above table, this is where I will tell my players, here's the idea that I've been having. What if every week, every other week, whenever we can get together, we just pick up from these stories? Any of you can write a story. We don't have to keep making characters over and over again. We just make these characters, and they go into the void, and they have to help a king find their new suit, right? Like, they go into the void, and they have to fight on an alien planet of whatever. Like, they go into the void, and so this is where I explain to my players, this is the thought that I had. So if you're worried about, like, well, I don't really know how to set up a story and whatever, just use this framework. You're a void walker. You were sucked in to a void that was open, and you ended up here, and that's where we start. And we can start building on these characters. And your fish out of water Frodo Baggins level 1, 2 months from now could be a level 7 warrior who's learned how to use their talents to whatever, or they could still be scared and terrified. What do I do in this situation? Yeah, I think that this is where I'm going to kind of pull them back and explain the idea. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because if anybody is like, oh, that's what we're doing, we're not just going to be doing slice of life, or, oh, I like the idea of this fish out of water thing, but my character is maybe a little too strong. That one of my players made a rogue delivery person that's good at sneaking. Maybe they're like, oh, they're kind of OP for this fish out of water thing. Maybe I should have made this instead, and blah, blah, blah. This is the time for them to say, my character says no and walks, and then next session they come back with a different character that they do want to play this campaign in, because I am tricking them. I'm telling them it's slice of life. I'm telling them there's not much combat. I'm telling them whatever, and they're going to make characters accordingly. But if they make a character and then they find out all that stuff and they're like, oh, I like the twist, but I wish I would have made this character. I wish I'd have. Now's the time for them to do it. They say, yeah, I choose to walk through the void, and I'm not coming back as this character, but next week I'll come back as a character that I do like. And all we do is say that character saw a void. They were chosen to be a void walker. And it's very simple to drop them in. And people can change characters every week if they want. But I think that this is good. I think that this is... They get to say a tearful goodbye. Yeah, this is cool. Um, there you go. We'll give them a level. They'll be level 2. They'll be level 2. Yeah, I think that works. I really want to give them +2 levels. Have them go to level 3. What happens at level 3? Let's find out what happens. Let's find out what happens. D&D Rogue 5e. This is my favorite. I always play on 5e. I don't like 2024. Okay. So if we give them 2 levels, the rogue gets their archetype. See, this is the problem, right? If we give them 2 levels and the rogue gets their archetype, then they're no longer that fish out of water. But the question is, how long do we want them to be fish out of water? Because eventually you want to be strong. You want to be able to do things. You know what? It could just be... Okay. Yes. I'm okay with it. We're going to make him go up +2 levels. Yeah, that'll put everyone at 3. I'm pretty sure in... Oh, now I got to think about this, actually. Reject all. Okay. No, this is wrong. Here we go. No, you still get your rogue subclass at level 3? What do you get at level... What has changed? Let's find out what's changed, shall we? Okay. This one needs to be bigger. There we go. You still can't really see it. How's that? Make it as big as humanly possible. Okay. So at level 1 in 5e, you get expertise, sneak attack, thieves, weapon mastery. You don't get weapon mastery in 5e. You do get it in 2024. You still get cunning action, and you still get your rogue subclass at 3. Why did I think it was something else then? What is... Just to be clear, Warlock is my favorite class, and I don't like 2024 because I'm pretty sure that they changed it so that... Yeah, you don't get your Warlock subclass until level 3, which makes no sense. Otherworldly pact magic. So yeah, I don't think that too much changes. Let me try Druid real quick and we'll find out. Druid. Druidic. Spellcasting, Primal Order, Druid subclass. Druidic Circle. So, in the new one you get it at 3, and the old one you get it at 2, but you get nothing at 3. Alright, well, what it seems like is that it doesn't matter if I put them to level 3, they're going to get something, which is fine. I think that that's good. Our Druids will be level 4, though. Does that break anything? Druids will get a feat. Yep, our druids are going to be strong. It's okay. I know one person who's probably definitely playing a druid. Probably definitely, but they love nature, so. But yeah, this is it. This is legit our session. I now would just go through and decide on what the DC is for this thing. I would do character names, character roles, whatever. But I'm going to do that next stream. Next stream, I'm going to do all of this stuff and really nail down who all these people are. And then I'll show you how I do artwork for this stuff. So, yeah, I think that that's good. I think that we've done good things. Let me turn this off. Yeah, I am a fan. I'm a fan. I am a fan of this. I think that this is going to be really fun. And it doesn't seem too long, considering some people are going to be playing it very early in the morning. I think that the time difference is like 12 noon. Oh, no, it's not too bad. I think it's like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., and then like 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., 12 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's good. So this is good. And this is our overarching that we're moving towards. So we got some stuff to do. This should be fun. This should be a lot of fun. Anyway. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I really love making this stuff. I like showing people how to do this stuff. I love doing it. If you want to, like and subscribe if you would like to subscribe, and I will see you when you least expect it. Thank you, guys.
Four worlds formed again and yet again, as endless eons wheel